All right, we're here with Tony. And Tony, what do we got today?
Well, what I've been working on for you now on the never-ending journey of danger, we have the new cover for what will become the comic book.
Yeah.
As we get more and more pages put together, more and more strips, we'll end up having an entire book out of this.
Sweet.
So what we've done is we've put the cover together to look like the old Amazing Fantasy 15, the first appearance of Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Of course, we have to have Danger in there too, right?
Fantastic.
So what we have here is
Let's
a
zoom in.
recreation of the old Jack Kirby, Steve Ditko cover from Amazing Fantasy 15. So this is the artwork. All of the text will end up going in, and that'll be computerized and done in Photoshop. But the actual drawing itself is still done, old style, hand drawn, pencil, ink, and hopefully it looks pretty close to the original.
Sweet.
And once the colors are in, it should match pretty closely. And of course, instead of having a burglar getting carried away, we have a whole different kind of character in here. And he's not quite as reluctant as the burglar. He looks like he's having a pretty good time there, spinning some webs on his own.
Yeah. So tell me about the process. I know you're an avid Spidey fan and that you draw Spidey a lot. You're already dealing with Romita.
Yeah.
Tell me about drawing a Ditko Spider-Man.
Well, the Ditko Spider-Man to me is filled with flaws because it was a brand new character. So the webbing design, for example, wasn't as established as it was by Ditko in later issues, where he completely nailed everything down. One of the things that I always notice is the webbing on the face. You have a line down the center in his forehead. There's also a line right down the center in his on the lower part of the mask as well, which would like cut straight down the nose and through the mouth. Well, that changed by probably around the 10th or 12th issue. So that's a change in the webbing pattern. You'll also notice that the webbing pattern is much different through here than it developed as well. It's the first Spidey. When you consider we're going back like 50 plus years, 60 years, it's amazing, so to speak. The costume has essentially stayed the same. Like it hasn't had radical revisions. It's not like Iron Man,
yeah,
where you have a different armor constantly, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So like there it is. That's the first drawing that most people saw of Spider-Man back in 1962, and like no one would have any difficulty recognizing that character today. It's pretty much the same design, same layout, just a different style of art depending on who's doing the drawing itself.
Yep. Now there's a little bit of history too. Between this cover, there's also another cover that you can tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. There was an original cover that Steve Ditko drew that Stan Lee thought wasn't quite heroic enough. So even though the idea of the character on the interior of the book was to have Peter Parker as a bookworm and to have him be frail and weak and not super muscular and super heroic, I think maybe they thought, well, are readers going to be ready for that on the cover?
Yeah.
So he rejected the Steve Ditko drawing and handed it over to Jack Kirby, who did so much of the work, of course, back then, as did Steve Ditko, but Jack Kirby was really the go-to guy for the superhero titles. And so Jack Kirby did the pencil layout, and Steve Ditko ended up inking over Jack Kirby's art, which is a different layout. If you ever get a chance to look up the original Steve Ditko, the positioning is not terribly different, but it has Spider-Man more to the ground, closer to the ground. There are pedestrians and people that are very close by, so Spider-Man isn't above them all as he is in this drawing. Spidey's right in with the people, so to speak, and the masses. So, which was probably what Ditko had intended when he drew it, but they went a different way. Obviously, it worked because without this book selling so well as it did, there wouldn't have been a Spider-Man comic. This was Amazing Fantasy was canceled right after this issue.
Yep.
Spider-Man was just a throw-in that Stan Lee was trying to get something unusual into the book. They just threw him in as a throwaway thing, threw him on the cover, and they noticed 2 or 3 months later when the sales came in, because unlike now where you have instant sales figures available to you, it was 2 or 3 months, and they realized they had this huge spike with Amazing Fantasy 15, the final issue of a canceled book, and they realized, well, why did it sell so well? Why did it spike? Well, because of the character on the front. So they tried him in his own book, and needless to say, it kind of worked out for them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
great. Well, unlike other books today, as you know, there's variant covers. So down the road, when we do the book here, when we produce it, would you be interested in doing a variant cover?
Sure, I just keep drawing for you, buddy.
All right, sounds good. All right, looking forward to it. And there's a close-up of Danjer's Amazing Fantasy cover. See you guys all soon.